Hey, Anissa here, coming to you live from Firehouse Education's studio, and I have got an awesome email to share with you. This email came in to me from Angie. Hi, Angie. And she says, hello, have you ever dealt with thermal tracking? Upon doing some research, I think that's what we're dealing with in this situation. We've got an older customer with hot water heat. It appears that she smokes some in her home and burns candles to cover that smell. Ooh, that's not a good situation. Temperatures were extremely cold this winter, Iowa, and sometimes she would turn her heat up, but normally it's set at about 70 degrees. She noticed black coming off of her windows when she washed them this spring, and then noticed black on the walls coming up from the heat. She called us, and it's as if a fire happened. There is soot on the ceilings and walls above the heater. In taking the cover off of one, it needed vacuumed, but the dust inside was not black. But the inside cover was, and only straight degreaser would take it off. Does insurance ever cover this? We are waiting to hear back from her insurance. Okay, that is excellent questions there, Angie. To explain a little bit, make sure that any of you watching the video are aware of what thermal tracking is. So, thermal tracking is basically where there's air escaping a building. It can be for a multitude of reasons, and this could be a very, very deep topic, by the way, so I'm not going to go into the scientific part of that. So thermal tracking happens when you have cool areas like on walls or ceilings that will attract the warm, moist air, if you will, from the inside of a room or a building. And when the two meet, then you're going to have condensation. And the condensation allows or attracts rather particulates that are in the air, and to that condensation, to the moisture, which is where you get your black lines or what looks like the ghosting or the streaking on the walls. Now this can also happen in areas where there's air loss, like around lights or doors or windows, things like that too. So again, I'm not going to get deep into the whole scientific part of thermal tracking, but I just wanted you to kind of understand, in case you're watching the video and haven't dealt with this before, what that can be. And it literally does look like you had a fire inside a house that didn't have a fire. I've come across it several times, and there's a lot of reasons. We're going to talk in a minute about the particulate part of it, but there can be a lot of questions that you're going to want to ask right off the bat. So for instance, just looking at Angie's questions, I would want to know, I get this is hot water heat, like a radiant heat system in this house, but how is it fired up? What's its source of fuel? Are we talking diesel? Are we talking it's electrical? Like what fires that up? Because the first thing I would go to in this type of situation is, do we have a malfunction going on with the heat system? Okay, actually had a very similar situation happen that I'll tell you about in a second, where that's exactly what was going on. So we want to make sure, is this, is the heat system malfunctioning or not? The other thing is that her burning those candles, not a good scenario, number one, inside the house anyway, because of the particulates it puts up in the air. But that could definitely, I don't know, burn candles. Does that mean she burns 4 or 5 a day for several hours? I don't know what that is. Are they scented candles or not? Makes a difference, especially for your indoor air quality, which, that's a huge concern here that I want to stress to anybody watching this video, is you could be dealing with a very serious indoor air quality situation. And so you really want to make sure that you're not just cleaning this, what looks like soot off the walls, but that you're actually dealing with the indoor environment as well and making this healthy, because it could be very bad for someone to be living in this house right now, depending on what's going on. Okay, now, so once you've got this determined as to the source, okay, then, obviously you're going to be doing the cleaning, which it's cleaning just like you would normally do a fire. I'd be using wall wash, powdered wall wash, which is my preference, and then, some 99 or something like that, of course, after while running my hydroxyl machine going. But the cleanup part actually is not difficult. What you got to find out is your source, remedy the source. And if that source is a malfunctioning furnace system, you could have a pretty big situation on your hands that you need to deal with. So obviously that has to get fixed first, whatever that source is, and then you can clean up and go from there. So your other question, Angie, that you asked was, do I see this covered? I've actually had this covered a few times, done more than one of these. However, a lot's going to depend on your policy, right? The particular policy that you're under. But remember this, insurance covers a sudden occurrence, okay? Something happening over a long time, like say someone's burning 4 or 5 candles a day for a year. I've never seen that covered. If you have and you're watching the video, please share your story with me because I'd be very interested to hear that. Chances are that's not going to be covered. That's an ongoing situation. The furnace, if there's an issue with the furnace, it's going to have to be determined. Is this a sudden occurrence, something mechanical fail, or is this a maintenance issue that something's been going on long term? I don't know. So I have seen it covered. In fact, the situation I was going to tell you about was a lady came to us, and a very similar situation going on. And she had her furnace was fired, or her power source was diesel, and it had been improperly installed, and basically was like backdrafting into her house. It was a very bad situation, and it was 100% covered on her insurance policy. So that was really great for her, and we had a wonderful job out of the deal. However, it just depends on what's going on. For instance, did her furnace, or has it more than once done an actual backdraft into her house? That's something to find out. Is that being caused by something mechanical wrong? Was there an installation that went bad? Which, by the way, this particular job that we were on, the insurance company actually subrogated against the installation company of that furnace. So yeah, it can be covered. There's a lot of questions to ask in that scenario to make sure. Again, I'm going to stress, you really want to find out what's going on inside that house for the indoor air quality situation. The particulates, like I'd mentioned earlier, they can be from a lot of different things. It can be particulates from just household dust. It can be particulates from a backdrafting, from a, like I said, furnace malfunction, where it's literally pushing the exhaust into the house from the stove or furnace system. It could be from cooking. Particulates in the air can be from burning those candles. And by the way, scented candles are not a good plan for your house, okay? They're not only really not good for your indoor air quality, but they're really bad for the actual particulates that go up in the air. I've actually seen people in bathrooms where they have those nice tiled jetted tubs, and they got all these candles where they take their baths all the time with these candles lit, and they've got smoke all over their ceiling and walls in their bathroom and have a terrible situation going on, which, by the way, I've never seen that covered on an insurance claim. Not sure, like I said, if you've ever had that kind of situation covered, please be sure to comment below the video because I'd love to hear your story. But I've never had that covered. It's usually something that they consider just ongoing. Okay, so now I want to talk about the particulates that I'd mentioned earlier. So it's important to figure out where those are coming from. And they can come from a multitude of things. It can be candles burning. It can be a propane, natural gas, diesel furnace system that's not combusting correctly. It could be a fireplace. It could be from cooking, cigarette smoke. There's a lot, mold. There's a lot of reasons why those black lines that you're seeing going on the wall is happening. So it's really important to figure out what that is. Could mean you want to test the indoor air quality. Do a test with a hygienist or on your own, potentially. But you do want to figure that out. And the other thing that I want to mention here is you could be having a much bigger situation than you can even see just standing right there with the lines, the black lines you're seeing on the walls. You could have an issue. I mean, think about, why is this happening? What's going on inside that wall cavity? You could have a situation where you don't have enough insulation or proper insulation. You could have air leak going on. So you could have a broken pipe behind that wall potentially, or leaking pipe. Like, there's a reason, there's going to be, if you've got that thermal tracking, if it's been going on for a while, there's definitely a potential that you have an issue going on inside that wall. You may not. If you've got a misfiring furnace going on situation, maybe it's just, that's the only thing you need to deal with. There's nothing wrong inside the wall, but you're going to want to check that out as well. So this is a really big thing. You're going to make sure, just like any restoration job really, but on this particular instance, you really want to do your due diligence, do your research, do your fact finding and investigative work to figure out and track all those areas. And then let me know. Angie, I'd really love to know what goes on with this, and if you do wind up getting it covered on the insurance policy or not, and give me some feedback. That'd be really great. All right, well, hey, don't forget, send me in your questions. I love getting emails like this, and would love to answer your email on the next video column. My email, you know it, I'm sure, by now, by heart, Anissa@firehouseeducation.com. And be sure you're subscribed to the rnrmagonline.com's e-newsletter so you get this and lots of other goodies in your email inbox every Friday. And on that note, I will see you on next week's Ask Anissa video column.